Hey everybody, it's Bruce here with Traveling with Bruce. Today's date, May the 28th, 2020, and I have 4 cruise-related stories to bring you today. Lots going on as always. We're going to talk about the brand new cruise ship, the P&O Iona. We're going to talk about Hawaii, what's happening there for cruise ship business. We're going to talk about the World Health Organization issues with cruising, and also Barbados. Lots of news coming out of Barbados. Thank you so much for joining me and subscribing to my channel, Traveling with Bruce. Really appreciate you folks trusting in me to follow what's going on in the cruise business. Also, your thumbs ups, fantastic, guys. I cannot thank you enough for giving my videos and my live shows thumbs ups. Thank you also for sending me comments and letting me know what you're hearing, what's going on out there. Thank you, those of you who are joining me on Facebook, the Facebook group page for Traveling with Bruce, spelled with 2 L's. Thank you for joining there. Now approaching 5,000 followers on Facebook. Unbelievable. A lot of us post information there and share a lot of news. It's fantastic. Come on over. Also, Instagram, we're beginning to see the 1,000 mark on Instagram with followers. My Jennifer Aniston lookalike wife is handling that one. Fantastic. And then lastly, thank you for all your support, especially those of you who are going to RedBubble, which is linked down below here in the description. Go to the RedBubble Store for Traveling with Bruce, and you can find all kinds of items with the TWB logo, including the masks and T-shirts and mugs and you name it. It's unbelievable. Thank you guys for all your support. All right, let's get into the 4 stories that I want to cover today. They kind of go from one end of the spectrum to the other, but it's all cruise related. Trust me on this one. The first bit of news I wanted to mention was I wanted to talk about the P&O cruise line out of the United Kingdom. The folks over there have been anxiously awaiting the arrival of their brand new ship, the Iona. Now, this ship is going to be the largest cruise ship to be home ported in the United Kingdom. The vessel will handle over 5,000 passengers. Or let me put it this way. On the drawing board, because things have changed, as we all know, in the last few months, on the drawing board, this ship could handle over 5,000 passengers without any difficulty. I would bet you that it might have even handled over 6,000 passengers with kids and people, doubling up and quadrupling up in their cabins. The ship is powered by liquid natural gas, so it's a clean burning vessel. It's got all the latest environmental gadgets, cutting-edge technology, a major step forward for the cruise line. Now, the news this morning really surprised me. The ship was completed at the shipyard months ago and had done some sea trials already, and has basically been, I don't want to say parked or idled or docked, but, it could have been delivered to P&O months ago, except for the fact that we're in the middle of a pandemic. And so the ship has been kind of waiting it out. And now we find out, just in the last 24 hours, the ship is heading to Rotterdam for dry dock. Now, this is unusual. It's really unbelievable because the ship has not had a single passenger on board yet. I don't even know if the entire ship has been what I call crewed out. I don't even know if the crew has been put on there yet. The ship was planning to do all kinds of, promotional sailings and all that sort of stuff. But again, that's all canceled with the pandemic. But we now understand that the ship is going into dry dock, and no details specifically as to why would a brand new ship that hasn't sailed anywhere need to go to dry dock. The only thing I can figure is if you're going to take this ship out of the water and put it on keel mounts, you've got issues down below. And to me, it's got to be either bow thruster or azopod issues. In other words, propulsion. Cruise lines like to call it technical issues. This is not good, but it's bad that they caught this issue before the ship even is sailing. The thing I'm wondering about is, with all of the news coming out in the last month now about possible reductions in capacities as far as passenger capacity futures are going. Are we talking about cruise ships that are only going to go out at 70% occupancy, 50% occupancy, 35% occupancy? There's a lot of speculation going on right now, and no one is willing to say officially what it is, although we're reading between the lines all over the place, all kinds of rumors. But is this ship actually going into dry dock for more than just this? Is it possible that the ship needs to go into a dry dock facility where they have massive cranes, where they can drop off on top of the deck the kind of containers that you would normally see being pulled by transport trucks, for example? Are container loads of new material being dropped off onto the ship for installation? For example, as I was speculating lately, the restaurants, are they going to have plexiglass dividers between tables, or are they going to, in effect, take restaurants and completely change the seating layout so that the seating inside restaurants will become more, let's say, booth-like, if you know what I mean with a booth, where it might be a semicircle of seating with plexiglass dividers between booths? Or will the booths have a bench on one side of the table and a bench opposite the table against the wall, and then plexiglass behind each booth to separate the next booth from the next booth, and so on and so on? How is this being done? Are we talking about all kinds of changes cosmetically being done to this ship, where they are ripping out or taking out tables and chairs and replacing them with new seating systems? The casino on board this ship, are they completely revamping the casino to adhere to social distancing rules going forward regarding plexiglass between slot machines, new blackjack tables, new tables for craps tables and roulette, and on it goes? There's a lot of unanswered questions. There's just no information. No one is talking officially as to what is going on, and I don't know how long this dry dock will take. Don't know how extensive it's going to be, but this is highly unusual. A brand new cruise ship going into dry dock, and they're talking sort of mid-June delivery, being very vague about that. That's 3 weeks from now. Again, folks, I just don't know. I'll stay on this story as much as I can. This ship has been so anticipated by the United Kingdom and P&O. It's going to become the flagship ship of the line, and I can only tell you that it's going into dry dock, and it hasn't even sailed a single kilometer with a paying passenger. That's story number one. I've only just hit number one. Oh my gosh. All right, story number two. Let's talk about Hawaii. A report came out today about how Hawaii was going to set a record for the number of passengers for next year. Now, I don't know if it's an all-time record, but it was definitely going to be one of the best years in many years. It was going to happen this year and next because of all the planned cruise ship visits that were coming to Hawaii for 2020 and 21. We now are hearing reports saying that it is unlikely that there will not be a single cruise in the Hawaii region until late 2021. We're talking the possibility of no cruising in a serious way until really 2022. That's a year and a half from now before any cruise ships will be allowed in and out of Hawaii on a regular basis. Folks, this is a telling sign that we're getting. These are the little hints that I'm hearing about all the time that are telling me the future of cruising is a long way off. But cruise lines are being brave and are trying to keep us encouraged and keep us motivated by only canceling 30 days at a time. These cruises, they started canceling in, when they shut down in March, they said to us, the end of April we'll be back. And then it was, we'll be back in June. No, we're going to be back in July. Now we're hearing cruise lines saying, see you in August. Some are saying, see you in 2021. Hawaii is talking now, no cruises until the very end of 2021. And that tells me we're talking 2022, folks. This prediction of mine, where there may not be any cruising till 2022 on a large scale basis, might be coming true overall. Other news, the World Health Organization, I've got to cover this story. There was a cruise that took place earlier this year out of Argentina. It was a 21-day cruise on an explorer type ship, the kind of cruise where you would go to Antarctica and see the penguins, and these are fantastic cruises. These are bucket list cruises. They're usually 6-star quality cruises, really nice, and they're intimate. You're dealing with only a few hundred passengers, not thousands. A ship departed Argentina for a 21-day sail, and they had 217 passengers and crew on board the ship. 8 days into the 21-day voyage, people started coming down with fevers, and the cruise line immediately restricted everyone into their cabins. The only people that were not in their cabins were essential staff, so that food preparation was still being done, but food now was being delivered to cabins, and passengers were being told to stay in their cabins. Now, keep in mind, folks, that all of these passengers on this ship all had balcony type outside type cabins for the most part. Nonetheless, they did 217 tests. Everybody on board was tested when it was all said and done. 128 of the 217 tested positive, and of those, 24 had symptoms that they could definitely measure and detail. But 108 of the 128 positives had no symptoms whatsoever, and this is over 80% of the folks tested were not displaying any symptoms of the virus. This is absolutely scary, because the WHO is basically saying we can't tell when people get on a ship, even with unless we do serious detailed testing, we cannot tell if a high percentage of the people getting on a cruise ship have the virus right now or not. And this is true of airplanes. This is true of your shopping mall. This is true of your church. This is true of your school. It doesn't matter. Wherever people are going, any restaurant, anywhere, period. Grocery stores, anywhere. The other issue that the WHO mentioned today was they still cannot rule out, and they cannot definitively say that a person that has once had the virus and has beaten it will catch it again. There's no guarantee at this point that you're immune to catching it a second time. This is scary stuff, and this is the kind of news that sends a chill through health agencies around the world, through doctors, nurses, healthcare providers, and to any business, and really to all of us as human beings. We are talking about the possibility here of a virus that is just not going to go away, and we're going to need some sort of a vaccine. We just don't know how effective it can be, depending on just how this thing mutates. And the future of cruising and traveling are really up in the air right now, because governments are taking the approach, rather to be safe than sorry approach, and deny entry into their country or deny traveling. And that means cruise ships are stranded. There's just no way that a cruise ship can pick up people from one location, take them to 3 other countries, and bring them back without this absolute mystery question of how many people were sick when they got on the ship, how many will get ill while on the ship, how many will get exposed to the virus when they visit various countries and or deliver the virus to various countries. This is still a big worry. The big issue is, are cruise ships going to be known as virus spreaders? Are the 3,000 passengers and 1,000 crew members potentially super spreaders to various countries? This is a bad news story, and we'll follow it. All right, the last one I have for you today, the last bit of the story, fourth bit of news. It has to do with Barbados, and I've been reporting on Barbados lately. You'll notice here there are some images I'm going to pop up now from Cruise Mapper. I just want to show you the fact that there are a number of cruise ships. I think there are 11 right now in the region of Barbados. So they're either in port or they're just around the island. Some of them have been here a while. Others have just arrived. And most notably, The Harmony of the Seas, the second largest cruise ship in the world, Royal Caribbean's Harmony of the Seas, just arrived in Barbados in the last 24, 48 hours. They are carrying over 4,000 crew to be sent home. Over 4,000 crew on top of the crew that normally is on the ship. The cruise line has been negotiating with Barbados for the ability and the right to bring ships into Bridgetown and in an orderly fashion and in a very highly sequenced fashion. They have been able to bring ships into port, get crew tested and off the ships in plane loads, basically, airplane loads, onto buses immediately to the airport where a chartered plane is waiting, and get them onto the plane and fly the plane out of the country. In effect, the folks who land in Barbados, they touch the soil of Barbados, they're off the island likely within 4 to 6 hours. That's what I'm gathering here. So far, in the last couple of months, the officials in Barbados have confirmed that over 25 ships have come in to do exactly this, and that charter planes are flying out to places like the Philippines nonstop, Indonesia, Ukraine, South America, all over the place, up to Canada and over to Europe. And in the case of the Harmony of the Seas, with over 4,000, they are talking over 20 airplanes that will be taking the crew home just from the Harmony of the Seas over the next week. So you can just see the logistics being put together here, where the planes are flying into Barbados empty. Crew on board the planes are in what we would call practically hazmat type suits. The crews are generally virus free. They're fine. They've been, in some cases, they've been on these ships for 2 months without any issues at all. But no chances are being taken. The crews are being protected. The airplane crews are being protected, I should say. The ship crews are being tested for the virus by Barbados authorities. They're given the green light. They're put on buses, taken to the airport, and they're flown right out of there. And this is how 25 ships and in a big way, Royal Caribbean has been able to repatriate thousands and thousands of crew members back home from Barbados. Now, normally they would do this out of Miami, Fort Lauderdale, and other U.S. spots, but the CDC in the U.S. will not allow cruise ships permission to even come in and do that. They've been so restrictive with the cruise lines that the cruise lines have found it's just easier to gather their ships in the Bahamas, cluster them together, shift crew between ships, and then either sail them home directly, or in the case of Royal Caribbean, just sail them down to Barbados, where the government of Barbados has the compassion and the wherewithal to coordinate with the cruise lines a safe and effective way to get crew people off of ships, onto buses, onto planes, and out. And so far it's working. It's been months. When the crew members get to their home countries, which again, it's all pre-negotiated, by the way, between Barbados and these home countries, they get to their home countries, they immediately go into quarantine there. So when the Filipino crew members land in Manila, they're going right to quarantine from the airport for 14 days. And so far, it's working well because the program is continuing on, and the numbers are consistently good with respect to how many ships are coming into Barbados, how many crew members are flying out of Barbados. If the issue had been a bad news issue, for example, if people were flying to Europe and were found to be, out of the 200 passengers, 30 were infected and were causing all kinds of infections, these flights would be canceled. There would be no way Barbados would be allowed to do this, but it hasn't been the case whatsoever. These crew are flying into the UK, into Europe, into Indonesia, everywhere else. They're being tested. They're coming out clean. They're going into quarantine. They're not getting ill in quarantine. They're being released after 14 days, and it continues on. So way to go, Barbados, and way to go, Royal Caribbean. It looks like Royal Caribbean and Carnival are the two lines that have predominantly been using Barbados as their island, their Caribbean island, to get crew back home. So I'll keep an eye on that and see how that goes going forward. There you have it. 4 stories today. A lot of questions that are coming up because of these stories. I mean, P&O Iona, what's going on with the dry dock there? I don't know. Hawaii, no cruises now until late 2021. Holy moly, this is major. The World Health Organization, with regard to the virus and how people are just not showing symptoms, and they might get reinfected, and on go the questions here. And then Barbados, flying people out of the country once the ships arrive, 25 ships and counting. It's got to be tens of thousands of crew that have been repatriated home through charter flights from Barbados. There's the latest, folks. We'll keep the news coming. Thank you for joining me today. We'll talk to you again soon. In the meantime, stay warm, stay safe, stay healthy. Thank you for all your support. We'll talk to you next time, everyone. Bye for now.